So, what do we mean when we say we want to use one lens only to do everything? Are we compromising on something? I want to show you exactly how it is, the workflow and the end results if you're using a wide to mid tele, let's say the Sony 20-70mm G, plain G, not the G Master version, because it's compact and lightweight, and compared to my A7C Mark II, it's a perfect combo. So it's as small as an APS-C camera, but you have all the advantages of the full frame. And let's see together three different use cases. So today we're gonna see how we use this glass when we are roaming around, scampering, and maybe taking some landscapes, as well as shooting interiors for real estate, as well as the portraits, photos that I normally take for my job, which is 90% of the photos that I take. Let's see together, stay tuned, we're gonna deep dive into the mountains, into the lake, and into interiors. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thomas Love here from One Lens Only, and today I thought that as a review of this magnificent glass that I just got, it was a journey to it because I had to compromise. Every time you make choices in photography, you are compromising, but a long story short, I always try to keep my kit as compact and lightweight as possible because I had a bad accident a few years ago, so I broke my spine and I don't want to carry weight because at the end of the day I really suffer from it. And so I need compact cameras, I need compact glasses, but I don't want to compromise on the image quality, reason for which after roaming and scampering and trying the old Zeiss glasses, the new Sigma zoom lenses f2.8, f4, the Tamron which is a 28-75, I landed on these 20-70. Why is that? Because it's versatile enough for me to use it even when I need wide shots, but it also has a bit of a tele with that 70mm when I need more compression and more reach. And I also realized that for portraits, since I'm not shooting in studio but on Lake Como, I also want to show the surroundings, and so I don't even use it wide open. The only moment when I needed wide open and I was still using the Sigma at f2.8 was for a wedding, but that's not the normal use case for me. So let's deep dive in these three different use cases that I want to show you. The very first one, it was on the Dolomites. I was going around in the woods looking for waterfalls and I wanted to take nice photos of nature. Why? Because living in the city, which is Como City on Lake Como, every time that I deep dive into nature and I don't see man-made things and I don't see electricity poles, constructions, buildings, I'm amazed. And so I wanted to show you how it is nature on the Dolomites, with the trees, with the waterfalls, with the rivers, with the rocks. So let's go for the very first part of this journey. It's like an adventure to walk on the slippery rocks toward this waterfall, but this is just a small one. The riverbed is a bit dry, so I'm going back up to the woods and onto the next waterfall. Oh yeah, we're walking in the woods towards the next waterfall. There's people going around here in the woods because it's quite a common path. We'll see how many people will be there at the destination and if I can find a spot to shoot some nice photos. So this is what we came here for, this waterfall. Was it worth it? Yeah, love it. Sorry. So I don't know why they all stopped there at the very beginning, I don't care because we can go forward. It's a bit chilly here. Let's try to take some nice shots of this waterfall. So we'll see where we're heading to. I might be going down here. I will be in the shots or in some selfies. I don't care. Right? Alright. Now we have the anti-filter mountain. We can go for longer exposure. So this is what we have to withstand. Mountain paths, quite steep in the woods, listening to the river. Such a bad life, huh? Yeah, so it's a kind of nature and the macro whatever. I'm trying to mix together some landscape, and then the peak over there looks like they're covered in snow, but they keep telling me it's just white rocks. So I'm focusing now on the rocks here on this river, which I'm gonna show you in a sec. And I'm using the compression of my 70mm on this glass, which is so versatile. So the hero here is my rock, and I'm gonna expose for 1 sec, and now let's see if we can manage to do a bracketing and a long exposure at the same time. That would be ideal. Let's see if the Sony is able to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm waiting for the 5th shot. Still waiting. It's the okay, 5 shots. Now bear with me because I had to mount the 360, so I didn't mount the monitor and I cannot show you what I see through my lens, but trust me, this is worth it. Now, for the second chapter, I wanted to share with you, we already had a dedicated episode about it. If you missed it, please find it up here, about shooting real estate interior. It all started when I was still in Vancouver and I was shooting interiors for the veterinary clinics in Vancouver in the whole area. But right here, we are into real estate because Italy is a touristic place and there are plenty of B&Bs here and there, and they all need their photos for the listing. And so from time to time Airbnb would send over their photographers, but from time to time there is color cast. And so if you are only shooting HDR and you don't know what flambient is and you don't have the gear to shoot flambient nor the time to do the post-processing, well, the color cast might ruin your shots. And so this was a clear example that I wanted to share with you, and I shot everything also with the same 20mm that I have here. Now 20mm it's not as wide as it should be for interiors. When I was in Vancouver, I was using the Betty's 18mm paired to the Sony a7R III and I had great results. Here I only have a 20mm. Why? Because willing to have one lens only, I think I can compromise a bit. On the width, just a couple of millimeters, it changes fairly, because especially when you shoot wide here on the 20mm, then you have to consider the lens distortions, correction and stuff for your framing, so it's a tad tighter than it should be, but I made it work. Also because I hate swapping lens, and so this is really versatile. After having used it at 20mm for landscapes, let's see together how it is to use it for 20mm for real estate. And then the final chapter of this journey together, because here I normally shoot in between 50 and 70 mil. Why? 50 mil because when I come close to my subjects I don't want to have face distortions or weird facial expressions, and so I try to use the compression not to avoid altering the morphology of the face, especially for the bride-to-be. So when the guys want to have a couple session, or maybe they are proposing here on Lake Como and they also want to see the surrounding, I normally step away or closer to shoot at 50 mil, and then I use the 70 mil only for the very close shots, like for the girl showing off her ring and this kind of photos that at f4 I see when I'm shooting a single subject. I don't have that beautiful shallow depth of field that we are all used to, but I make it work coming closer to my subject using the compression at 70 mil, and of course the background would be always far away, so you still have some kind of out of focus bokeh effect for the photos. But when I'm shooting couples or families, of course I cannot go wide open, otherwise only one of the two people in the couple would be fully focused and in sharp, and why is the other one blurred? Just because it's half a step behind the partner. So I need anyway to go to f4. This is why I ditched my 24-70 f2.8 that was big and bulky, that was not wide enough for the other use cases, and I landed on this 20-70 that still serves me as well for couples shootings, for shooting families, ambient here on Lake Como. I'm sharing with you a few shots that I've taken in recent sessions, but many more are coming, so stay tuned. I'm also working on the behind the scene to show you even this third chapter of the photography that I take here on Lake Como. If you missed the episode that was dedicated to this kind of services, please find it up here. That's also behind the scenes, so full disclosed what I'm using my camera, my glass, one flashlight, eventually a speed light mounted on a tripod with a softbox if I need to, and of course we have sturdy tripods for everything. For the camera most often I'm using a CPL filter in front of it because I really want the greens to pop out and avoid to have reflections, and the ND filter if I'm recording videos. So as you can see, we had 3 different settings for this lens to perform. It performs quite well. Why? Because being a recent development, it's stud sharp. It's sharp corner to corner. This is not what I'm looking for when I'm choosing a glass, but the resolution helps, especially when you're shooting families, so you have maybe 4 or 5 people lined up, and the ones on the side, you also want them to be well defined in the face, otherwise you have to go through post-processing with the denoising, with AI RA to make it sharper. I don't want to do that. I want to do the best that I can directly in camera, and this 20-70 is serving me quite well. When I'm climbing, I just have it hanging out on my shoulder. I don't need to take anything else, maybe just a light tripod and the filters and the spare battery and the second memory card, just in case, because having only one card slot, I always have a spare one. The mic, if need come, is super tight, and so as you can see, with a very small package we are able to serve different needs. So I'm serving clients whether they are tourists visiting the area and they are willing to have some memory of the proposal of the family or the couple session. I'm serving clients locally with the B&B listing for real estate shooting, and I'm also using the exact same setup when I'm scampering around and hiking on the mountains, just for my personal amusement and just to practice, because macro is nice. I want to show you, I don't have a macro lens, but I have this little teeny tiny part of gear. So stay tuned, because we are going to go around and visit here around the mountains. We are using this extension type pipe by JJC. either the small one or the bigger one. So this is the very first part, and eventually you can use also the other one, which is a tad bigger and gives you more macro capabilities. So stay tuned, because we're gonna explore further, and I'm gonna put to test this magnificent 20-70mm. It's not a cheap glass, but I had it for a fair price, and guys, I'm also happy I did. I'm still thinking about adding a prime to my kit, but then I know that I will eventually hate having to switch glasses, because I don't want to think about it. I only want to have one camera and as many batteries as possible, and only one lens and eventually as many filters as possible if I need to. But for the rest, I don't want to think about having to switch. I don't want to take with me too many glasses, because the whole time that you spend thinking about what glass you want to use or which one would perform better, you miss the shot. And so this is why years ago I switched to using one lens only, and I never looked back. So please let me know down here in the comments if you have any question about the kind of photos that I just showed you: real estate, landscape, portraits, families, how to make a brand out of your work, and eventually how this glass performs. You let me know. We will have a deep dive into post-processing later on with Luminar for the full update, which is coming in a couple of months, and also with DxO Photolab 10, and we'll stay tuned, because we will deep dive on September 1st when the embargo finishes. And with that, I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please remember to like it, share it on your social media, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any videos to come, and I guess I will see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.